Happy Sunday. So, my life is pretty busy right now, which is why I didn't film last Sunday night. But that's okay. And we didn't have a long form video either this week. That's all right. We'll keep on keeping on, right? And as you can see, things are happening in our little condo where I'm having to face the curtains today with my laptop instead of my monitors. So everything's happening all at once. But when you live somewhere hot like Bangkok, you do need the air cons fixed when they have a problem. So we're rolling with it. All right. So we're still sticking with the premiere on a Sunday night because I actually really enjoy being in the comments with you guys as I'm watching myself, which I didn't think I would. Anyhow, today we are talking about or going deeper into interleukin 6, IL 6. And this has come up in a couple of spots. So I thought we would go a little bit deeper, or I wanted to go a little bit deeper. Whether you do or not, I'm not sure. I just wanted to touch on, start getting used to what is this about? What is, so just a light overview, digging a little bit into what it is and what it's got to do with lipedema and so that I could start to put some pieces together in my head. So I hope it does for you as well. And as always, I have a slideshow. So let me share my screen. All right, here we go. Okay. All right. So IL-6, interleukin 6, what is the connection? All right. So let us go. First of all, as always, in case you're new around here, my name is Kylie. I have Hashimoto's, I have lipedema, and as my age has progressed, I have discovered I have lots of other little bits and bobs, and I'm adding as I go. Not officially, not as a diagnosis, because I'm not a big fan of having diagnoses these, I'm not sure the plural, um, unless it's going to help me in some way, shape, or form. Otherwise, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm pretty sure that I can see that in myself, and therefore I try to do the natural things that I can to mitigate. For example, MCAS, mast cell activation syndrome. So I just try and stop the triggers as opposed to going and getting the diagnosis. If there's a reason for me to get diagnosis for something, so I can get something back from, the doctor, or I can get some sort of script, or I can get something that helps move me forward with my health, then for sure. But otherwise, no, I don't want it on my rap sheet for the insurance company to look at. So that's where I'm at. And I really need to update this photo because now, if you look here, I've had my breast lift and I've had my side lift. So this is quite dramatically different up here. But I haven't bought a new bikini top because this one is really, really big on me now. So I will get around to that. All right. Disclaimer, always check with your doctor. Don't listen to some random person on YouTube. You can take what you need, but always go and follow it up because your doctor or your health practitioner knows your history. I do not, and nor do other people that is telling you their story. And this is pretty much what I'm learning for me. And I'm sharing it in case there's little bits and bobs that you can figure out for you. All right. What is interleukin 6? So when it comes to lipedema, so we know that lipedema is not just about weight, right? So um, there's something different in the tissues. So interleukin 6 seems to be one of the things that puts a fingerprint on it, or it seems to be across the board with a lot of these different things that are all interconnected, like the last video that I did. And what it actually is a chemical messenger of the immune system. It's made by immune cells and by fat cells. So one would assume if we've got a lot of extra weight, a lot of extra fat cells, we're going to be making more of interleukin 6, right? So the reason we have it, right? So why we all have it, we all need it. As like most things in my body, it's when things go wrong that's the problem, or when we get too much of it that's the problem. So the reason we have it is for acute healing. So having an immediate response to, say, exercise or muscle repair, or you've torn something, or you've cut something, or It's an immediate responder, so an acute. So acute is something that happens straight away and doesn't last very long. So a fever would be acute, right? But the downside is when you have a lot of it, you will have a chronic low grade elevation of it. So chronic is anything longer than 3 months, or and generally something you have to take some kind of medication or topical ointment for, or something like that. So we need it for acute healing, but it's made worse in chronic situations. So, and it's not a villain, it's actually just a signaler. It's telling us something about our body, right? So that's what it is. Let's move on. So let's just recover. And I'm not sure that everybody knows this. Fat, our excess fat, when we have it, is actually an endocrine organ in its own right. It's estrogen in its own right. Okay, so fat by that definition isn't just storage; it's a gland. All right, and it's a gland that's communicating with us. And a lot of people don't think of our fat cells as a gland, right? Like our thyroid gland or our adrenal glands, but it is, right? So in lipedema, though, that conversation, it's wrong. It goes wrong. It goes wonky. So our adipose tissue, our fat tissue, secretes hormones such as leptin, adiponectin, interleukin 6, and TNF alpha. So they're all different hormones that our fat secretes. So it kind of puts a new spin on the excess fat that we have, right? Okay. What researchers have found, so that higher levels of interleukin 6 mRNA in lipedema adipocytes, so in lipedema fat, there are higher levels of it. Sorry, I said that a little bit back to front. So there are higher levels of interleukin 6 in lipedema fat. There are higher levels of col 1A1, so collagen 1, in lipedema fat, which leads to fibrosis. There are higher levels of M1 macrophages infiltrating the skin and fat samples, and adipocyte fat. We can just say fat, couldn't we? Hypertrophy, so turnover, is basically means big stressed fat cells that we have, okay, in lipedema. So this means basically inflammation, fibrosis, and immune infiltration. And that's not normal fat. So we need to always remember the fat that we have with lipedema is not normal fat. The genetics clue. So, how many of you have had your genetic profile done? I have not. Not because I'm against it. I don't know, something I have not gotten around to. I don't know. So, if you've had your genetic profile done, this is an interleukin 6 polymorphism, and it's RS 1-800-795 is the name of the polymorphism. So, one would assume I haven't even seen somebody else's DNA snips or 23andMe or those sorts of things. So, I'm assuming it has the polymorphisms written on there. So that's the one to do with interleukin 6. Okay, so when you compare it to BMI matched controls, so that is somebody else with the same BMIs, the same weight, for example, but does not have lipedema, the interleukin 6 was not significantly different. What does that mean? That means the problem is local, not systemic, not throughout our whole body. So local to the tissues, local to the connective tissue, which is interesting, right? That's where I've got to so far with this. So um, this is why if you get a test for interleukin 6, it could potentially look fine, even if it's not, because they're testing what's systemic, what's in your blood, rather than what is in your tissues. And I haven't gone further yet to find out if there's a tissue test that can be done. If any of you know, please let me know, because this is just my cursory research into it and what I found so far. And it hasn't been a huge amount because I've been flat out, but this is what I found so far looking into it, which is kind of interesting, right? All right, the vicious cycle. So it kind of goes in this circle thing. So your fat cell enlarges, right? It outgrows its blood supply. Macrophages are recruited. The interleukin 6 inflammatory signals are released, which causes fibrosis, more fat storage, and pain. And back we go to fat cells enlarging again. It just goes around in this vicious cycle. Why it hurts? The pain, it's not in your head. And we all know it's not in our head, right? So the inflammatory cytokines, they sensitize the nerve endings. So fibrosis and fluid puts pressure on that tissue. Then we add capillary fragility, which leads to bruising. And, that's why it hurts. So the cytokines and the nerve endings and the fibrosis and the pressure, it all adds up to pain, which is never pleasant. All right, the symptom link. So, interleukin 6 also interferes with how our body activates the thyroid hormone. So, for those of us that have thyroid disease, also me, and I know there's many of you because you all kind of say it, it interferes with the thyroid hormone from a conversion perspective. So, our thyroid hormone, for us to feel good, has to be converted into usable form. So interleukin 6 interferes with that conversion by blocking D1 and D2 enzymes. So it also breaks down T3, which is the active hormone, the one that makes us feel well, which means less thyroid hormone that works reaching our cells. So that's a very distinct connection, the interleukin 6 between thyroid and lipedema. And I'm sure there are heaps others, but this is just my starting point. So bear with me. Okay. As I'm always looking at, like, what actually helps? What can we do? Because that's my point, right? It's not to dig deeper into it and go, oh, woe is me. It's like, what can I do about it? So what helps is water-based exercise. Hydrostatic pressure is basically is the same as having free compression when you're exercising. Walking, rebounding, low impact strength, muscle contraction actually releases the acute version of interleukin 6, right? So that's the form we want. That's the anti-inflammatory form of interleukin 6. And we want that. We don't not want interleukin 6, we just don't want the chronic version. So, any way that we can activate our muscles and exercise in a way that doesn't cause us more pain, then that's going to actually help downregulate the chronic version of interleukin 6. Okay, so that's the irony of interleukin 6. Just to reiterate on that, when it's in its acute form, it's anti-inflammatory. We want it. It's amazing. When it's in its chronic form, it's inflammatory. It's painful, makes things worse. We don't want it. And you know what? That's kind of the same as so many different things in the nutrition world. So, not enough and too much can be the same, right? All right, nutrition and interleukin 6. So here's where we want anti-inflammatory diets, bottom line. So high omega-3s, polyphenols, blood sugar stability, so not a huge amount of, sugary items that spikes our blood sugar, carbs, that kind of thing. So antioxidant support. And this isn't about restriction, right? So this isn't about weight loss or anything like that. It's about signaling to the body that the interleukin 6 doesn't need to be out in the chronic version. Okay. All right. Specifically, so I went a bit deeper into that. I was like, yeah, I know about the anti inflammatory stuff. Let's look at what we can specifically do if we wish to. So they've done studies on curcumin, which is the active ingredient or the active component of turmeric. And they did studies showing a significant interleukin 6 reduction. But on this study, they used the 1,000 milligrams. It was under 1,000 milligrams. I think that was the upper end of it. and for at least 8 weeks. So I would get yourself some curcumin. Make sure you work with a herbalist, a naturopath, whatever, because curcumin can interact with other things. So, and if you've got kidney issues or anything like that, you probably wouldn't want to be taking curcumin. So just make, that's why you see somebody, right? It's to save yourself some heartache in that respect. Ginger. Trials show a significant reduction in interleukin 6 in the chronic version. Didn't tell me amounts. So I'm just going to say add ginger to your diet if you like it and it agrees with you. And selenium lowers C reactive protein. So that's an inflammatory marker along with interleukin 6. So, and selenium, if you're a thyroid person as well, it appears in so many parts of the thyroid pathway. It's crazy. So selenium, I'm going to say, is just amazing all round. And vitamin D and magnesium also showed up in studies that had a direct positive effect on downregulating interleukin 6, the chronic form. Okay. All right. There's some sources if you want to go looking up all the studies because somebody asked me. So I'm like, well, here you go. Here's your studies. All right. And some people like that. I do not. I hate studies and therefore I hate doing slideshows that include studies because they mean nothing to me. I'm like, just give me the things that help me change what I'm doing. Right. Uh, and as always, try everything because you never know until you try. All right. So let me just stop sharing for a second. All right. Yeah. So I had a lovely lady this week comment on, oh, which video was it? Calf raises, the calf raise challenge. And she asked me in the comments, did it help thighs? Did it help your thighs? And no, not for me, it didn't. It helped my calves. The calf races helped the calves, funnily enough. It didn't make any difference to my thighs, but it doesn't mean to say it wouldn't have made any difference to her thighs or your thighs if you're thinking about it. But that's why you try everything on yourself. Take something that you think, well, somebody's had a bit of luck there. I wonder if you're sitting there going, I wonder, then you need to try it, right? Don't wonder how it works for everybody else. Don't get the, oh, I'm only going to do this if it works for, somebody else. No, you don't know what works on you. So, any way that you've got inflammation, any way that you can find and that you have the capacity for, or you think you're able to do, even for a month, try it, right? That's how I test most of my things. Most of my things I test for 30 days because I figure that's long enough to figure out, to get past any detox symptoms or any, soreness if it's an exercise or whatever, to see if it actually makes a difference long term. And same with downregulating your interleukin 6. And I'm going to say, how do you know if you've achieved downregulation is just literally feeling less pain is what I would say would be the symptom that disappears if it's working for you. So start with the anti-inflammatory diet because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to keep inflammation down and look at some of those supplements and see how you get on. And remember that you want to increase the acute version of interleukin 6, and you do that by muscle contraction and movement, which I know hurts. I know, I get it. So I would be doing anything that you can to include the movement in a way that doesn't hurt. So even, and it just occurred to me, so even maybe pneumatic pumps, because that is moving your muscles, isn't it? I don't know. I haven't bought one, but I'm going to. I've decided I'm going to spring for some pneumatic pump for myself. So if you've got a good brand that I think I can get delivered here in Thailand, let me know. Okay, there's pretty much nothing I can't get here. So if you've got a brand or you've got any advice around pneumatic pumps, let me know because I'm starting to head down that road. I'm going to get myself some, but I'm also going to trial the muscle contraction that happens when you have massages every day because they're pushing on your muscles. So I don't know, there's something there as well. Always trialing things, right? Because I want a happier, pain free, less inflammation kind of life. And I'm sure you do too. So, anyway, that was all I found this week. That's my starting point. I know it wasn't a huge amount of information, but it was kind of oh, okay, I get it. We need this, but we need it for acute reasons, not for chronic reasons. The only way to activate the good version of it is to move and potentially take those supplements. So the curcumin, turmeric, ginger, what else was there? Selenium, vitamin D, and magnesium. So, and they're all good ones for lipedema anyway. So it makes kind of sense, right? That's it for me this Sunday. I am hoping to have a video to you this week. I'm not going to make promises though, because yeah, I'm pretty full on with work at the moment through to mid-September. But as always, I will see what I can come up with. And as I say the same to everybody I work with, right? Don't put pressure on yourself. If you get something done, you get something done. If you don't put all this pressure on your shoulders, because that cortisol is just going to make lipedema worse. So I never worry about what I can and can't do. I have my priorities and I get done what I get done. So that's where I'm at. And thank you for those that checked in on me to see where I was at. It's nice to know that you missed me. So that's really cool. And I will see you hopefully next Sunday night. Bye.